Yeah, I couldn't imagine you have opportunity to work in PUCs. Yeah, the two vulnerables there. Um, Good morning.
Morning.
So I'm glad to be here this morning just to share with you my philosophies, my experience, and my expertise. And I hope my session will be very fruitful for you to carry on your career in the future. Well, first of all, let me find out about your career goal. So what is your career goal? Whether you have your own career goal, set it. Yeah? Everyone? You have your own career goal? Yeah?
Yes.
Okay. Well, whether you have it or not, only you knows best. Yeah? And I believe you have one, at least in mind. But my next question is, when did you set up your career goal? And what achievement have you met so far? Again, I don't need you to answer, just think about it. But you can imagine, it's like a sailing boat here. If you get on a boat and have no direction where to go to, you know what happens? Yeah? You think the ocean is small enough to reach the edge of it easily? Probably the answer is no. Let's look at your own teaching so far. So how long have you been teaching English? More than 10 years, I'd like to know. Okay, very few. More than 5 years. Okay, many. Less than 5 years. Okay, over a year. Right. So how do you like teaching? Yeah? Very much? Yeah, that's why we are here. Right? Are we teaching for the money? Or are we teaching for fun? Are we teaching for what? For all. Okay. Yeah. Mixed. Absolutely. So what have you learned from your teaching? Yeah? Cannot describe. What does it mean, cannot describe? A lot, little? A lot. Okay. Learn from your teaching. Very interesting. Is teaching an easy or difficult job? Sometimes easy. In what way it's easy? Yeah? In what way? Okay. And in what way teaching is difficult? Work all the time, yeah. Okay. Right. Well, if you can ask me whether teaching is easy or not, I would answer no. It's so difficult in many ways. But you can ask another question, so why I'm here then? Being a teacher, I never thought I would be a teacher. In the past, I remember in 1985, when I took the exams, the teacher exam. The teacher exam came only the first time in 1985 in Cambodia after the Khmer Rouge. And since then, the teacher exam came last. So I was lucky in the first. And I passed the exams, teacher exam. I was very happy, excited. But happy not because I wanted to be a teacher. Happy, I thought, because I was a very good student who could pass the exams. And then the director of my province announced, okay, the ones who pass the teacher exams are not allowed to take the chair exams. At that time, the chair exam to go to high school. That came later on. And then I turned from happiness to sadness, crying and crying, because I never wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a medical doctor, studied overseas in Russia at that time, because I looked at my friends and I was dreaming about it. Unfortunately, my dream didn't come true with that, and finally end up in teaching, and as a teacher, and now for a whole life. You could imagine why. There are lots of reasons. I don't think I have time to explain all of this. Maybe if you want to know my history, that would be interesting to learn from. But let's look at this. How have you prepared lessons well before class? Have you done that? What was your lesson like? Can you imagine when you plan lesson well before class, how you enjoy teaching? Sometimes when you didn't plan lesson well before class, how did you feel? Well, I know you know this feeling, right? My question is, how important is planning? Is it important? Oh yes, được sao không? Yeah. So weak, yes. How important? Yes. It doesn't sound important. Okay. Well, if planning is so important, why don't any teachers plan lessons seriously? Answer? Oh, printers. Okay. Right. Problems. What else? How long does it take you to plan one lesson? Imagine one lesson take you 2 hours. But do you think the planning is paid? Is planning paid? You only paid for your teaching, right? But not planning. Well, that's why not many teachers plan lessons. You see that? Easy answer. Okay. Well, we'll look at that later. Do you treat your teaching as a career or a job? Wong and Wong, 2005. Define. A job is something a person does to earn a living, while a career is something a person does as a lifetime pursuit. job, career. And my question is, are you teaching and you treating your teaching as a job or as a career? Yeah? Okay. It's great to hear that. Let's look at the differences. A person who treats a job as a teaching teaching as a job lives from hand to mouth. Yeah? So every week you only wish to see the weekends. Every month you only wish to get the 30th or the 31st to get paid. And when you have the pay, go to the water bill, go to the house rental bill, and also an empty. Has no future. Won't found out if you work as a job, you don't have good future. How can you have future? Because just from hand to mouth, right? Okay. Doesn't invest in himself, the teacher who treats teaching as a job. How can you invest? Because you have no money left. To invest, you need to go to university, you need to pay for training courses, you need to, spend money and also time. How can you have time? Because your pay is little and you don't have time only for teaching. You have to run for other businesses, other jobs to make additional income. See? Yes. This person works well only when he or she is supervised. Yeah, when the dean, when the supervisor say, hey, I will observe your class next week. Good plan. I plan lesson well, for a week. And then the observer comes, oh, good lesson. That's good. You done good job. Yeah. When the supervisor stops visiting the class, normal, easy job. Okay. Doesn't care much about teaching and learning quality. Well, as a teacher, we do care, right? But my question, if you do care about your quality of teaching and the students' learning quality, why some teachers haven't planned lesson well? Simple questions. Doesn't plan well before class? Yes. Let me share you a story. When I asked my students, I have trained thousands of students for Cambodia to teach English. But my question is, how many of my graduates, have been effective teachers so far? Have been professional? When I talk to a few of them, you plan lesson before class? Say, no, I don't have time. Yeah. So no planning for 3 years. 3 years later, I ask them, have you planned lessons after 3 years? No. I said, why not? Yeah. Plan is in my head. Mental planning. I said, oh, it's interesting. Yeah. I think my brain is not as good as your brain. Because even my wife's phone number, I cannot remember it. Yeah. And how could I use my brain to store a pile of lesson plans? Well, so together, 3 years, no planning, no time. After that, later on, they said, I don't need to plan because I remember, I know the material, I know the textbook well. So put together 5, 6, 10 years, no plan. You see that? No plans. Okay. Negative attitudes. I don't think you have negative attitudes. And then what we mean by attitudes here. Yes, you know that it's the way of thinking. But how negative attitudes influence our job? For example, some people complain about the pay. Oh, teachers is low pay. I don't care about planning because pay is low. This is negative. Am I right? Oh, Cambodia teaching quality is poor everywhere. How do I care about the quality of, my teaching to make my people learn? I don't care. Is it negative attitude? Well, if I care much about my students, about my teaching, who cares much about me? Negative attitude too? Okay. And then we will talk about that later. Racist, new things, new policies. Well, you have gone through already the new policies so far when Dr. Reborn has replaced Ratana. Lots of changes have been made, right? And I heard lots of complaints here and there from my previous students, from the teachers and colleagues I know, because he tried to implement the new policies, new things and so on. And we usually have our own comfort zones, is that right? And we don't want someone to make our life more difficult. This is nature. I don't blame everyone or all of you. Yeah. But the person who teach as a job, it's hard to accept the initiatives. It's hard to accept the new change because they only do things in a routine way. Yeah. Ignore problems and can't make decisions. As you see, classroom is a complex environment. There are many problems. That's why I told you teaching is difficult. I never find teaching is easy. Because there are lots of small problems that we haven't solved yet for our students. For example, how can we help our poor students, our weak students to catch up the lesson well? Have you thought about it? Have you done lots of things to support them? You see? Well, some students find difficulties in learning the grammar. Have you given some guidance, some support to how to learn the grammar well? Probably most of the time we have just ignored. Oh yes, I understand. I understand your problem. But just understand, what have you done about it? See, so lots of problems that we haven't really solved. And if we haven't planned lesson well, how can you make some changes in teaching later? Because haven't planned lesson means you haven't made any decision from the beginning. You haven't prepared what to do things better in the classrooms. For example, if you come to the lesson without worksheet, without proper questions to be asked, in the classroom you have time to think about it, to prepare worksheets, to prepare the question, and the question should be more critically, how? And finally, you can become professionals working as a job. Now, a person who treats teaching as career is different. Is well paid because you are confident, you know your job very well, you know what you are doing. When you walk to any school, you negotiate the pay. And if the school doesn't pay you well, you walk out and you go to another school. You see? Has great future. Well, if you are well paid, people respect you, students love you because you work hard, you teach well. Yes, you have great future. Invest a lot in improving themselves. Sometimes I just told my students, if you don't have money to invest in your education, why don't you borrow a loan from the bank, not for the old car, but for going to university? Why? I don't think many people now get a loan for educations. Am I right? They get a loan for a car, get a loan for a house, but not for educations. Except in America, in other countries, they do get loans for education for their children. Yes. Usually this career worker is independent, responsible for their job. Planning is one kind of showing responsibility and accountability for your teaching. You come to class, you keep watching the clock to see whether time's up to go to the classrooms. You never be late and leaving the classroom, not leaving early. You see, so they are so responsible. If their students don't learn things, they care about it. They try to take actions, find strategies, technique, ways to help their students. Yeah, care much about teaching and learning quality. Don't just say, oh, I do care about quality of my children, but take actions, do something to show that you care. If you say, I care about my students' learning, I care about my teaching, but if we don't plan lesson well, does it show you care? If you don't, correct the students' homework carefully, giving comments and feedback for them to improve, how can you show your care? You see? Yes. Attitudes usually have different attitude from the job holder. For example, like low pay. You can imagine, I wasn't trained, in Devada, whatever, I was trained most of the time in Cambodia to be a teacher. My other degrees only in Cambodia. See? But this is because maybe I am a unique. I always have positive thinking about my job, about my professional development. If I do more, I learn more. If I read more, I learn more. It doesn't matter whether I take a degree in the UK, in the US, in Australia, or in Cambodia. If I read the books written by the same authors as those students do, why can't I learn things? You see. Yeah, lots of students ask me, teacher, why don't you study overseas? I said, it's not my dream. I let you go, because I can study anywhere. Yeah. Positive thinking. Regarding the job, when I started teaching in 1987, for 2 years, probation period, no pay at all. No pay. And then I was suffering. I quit for 2 years from school. I told my director, I stopped working. I was suffering. I had no money. I had no food. You didn't know that. So now find a teacher to replace me. And I'm on leave for 2 years. Yeah. And what did I do for 2 years? Yeah, rode motor. I went to Thailand as a minor, Chitabo, for 2 years. When I came back with some money, I was happy. I went back to school. Say, hey, I'm happy now. I can continue my teaching. Yes. You see. Yeah, welcome. Any initiative and move forwards. The career holder always wants something new. Want to do something new. They never refuse. They never complain, because they find this opportunity to grow, opportunity to learn. Reflect on what he or she does after class. After my teaching, I had my notes. Why this activity didn't work well? Why the student enjoyed it? Because this, because of that, I wrote. What should I do next if I teach this same lesson? So that I have information for my future development if I teach the same lessons, the same materials. See? What problems occurs? Why the student didn't work well in a group? I had to think and find out the reasons so that I can make some new decision in the future. Keeps growing and developing. Yeah. invest. You see, investment is important. Education you can't just do overnight to become well educated and to be well paid. You see, we've been learning for the whole life. And look, imagine yourself. See, you've been here, now you are in your 50s, in your 30s, in your 40s. Yeah, you've been invested a lot already. But what else? You need to invest more in your career, in your teaching. Yeah. And finally, if you keep doing all of the things, you will become professional. I read a lot of books about professional development, and lots of people say it's the same thing. Keep growing. Lifelong learner. Be a lifelong learner. And then my question is, which path would you decide to take? Whether a professional or unprofessional? I ask all the students I teach here, and nobody say, hey, I would like to take the bottom one. Unprofessional. Everyone raise their hand bravely. Professional teacher, professional. I say, okay, excellent. And I said, I did ask these questions to my students, 100 students in the past too, and all of them said the same as you. But finally, until today, how many people have come across to become professional? Very few. Very few. Especially in the context of Cambodia, you can imagine, you know, poor supervision system everywhere, poor pay, you see, not enough resources and so on, lots of other problems that we still have faced. And then it's difficult for us. But imagine, you like to take the professional, as my student said. Would you like to take that path? Yeah? Why not? Right? So ask yourself, where are you now? I want you to think about today. Imagine this figure there, this stick figure. Imagine you put yourself in this position and think again, which path I would take from today. Forget about the past. The Buddha said, okay, the past is the past. The present is the mother of the future. Now let's think about now. What can you do next? If you have wasted some years, 10 years, 15 years, or 5, 6 years, haven't developed yourself well to become professional, it's not too late. Well, in 5 years I will get retired somehow. How come? Well, in Cambodia we still use the retired people, you know. You see? As far as you can come to the classroom, we still accept you to teach. So after retirement age, there will be about 15 more years that you can be made good use of. Oh yeah, why not? Yes, if you choose a professional path, this is similar to the career that I presented earlier. First of all, you must have clear career goals and plans. Don't just set the goals and then make plans how to achieve it. And the goal here can be your professional goal, can be your financial goal, any kind of goal, set it up. But after you set the goals, what should you do to achieve them? It's difficult to succeed, as you know, professional. It's not easy. That's why not many people, not many teachers, not many graduates that I had trained become professional. I met the student who I trained 10 years ago and asked them, where are you now? Oh, teacher, I forgot everything. The technique you saw, the lesson plan, I forgot all of this. I said, why is that? Well, because I just followed the textbook.